And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And here we are on a Thursday. A big productive week for the President of the United States. Seems like every day something's happening. You can't say that he's letting any grass grow under his feet. But right now, first thing I want you to know is that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, currently 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 41 degrees. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the things we always talk about, what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and then, of course, we'll continue our brand new segment, the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey, in the rest of the story. And today, the mother of Mother's Day. You're not going to want to miss this. It's a great story, so don't let it go. And then, obviously, a little bit later on, we'll have our own Sean LaFave. Sean and I are going to be talking about healthcare on the Geared for Wellness segment. And we're going to be talking about a movie that he had me see called Vaxxed. And we're going to continue talking about vaccinations and the horrible miscommunications and misinformation that's being sent out by the CDC. So we'll see what happens with that. Well, right now, let's talk about news. A spokesman says that Trump seeks 20% tax on Mexican imports. Well, President Donald Trump called on fellow Republicans to help him enact great and lasting change at a party retreat today, but offered new details. Later, his spokesman said that the president will seek a 20% tax on Mexican imports to pay for a proposed border wall. The president was greeted by cheers as he took the stage in a hotel ballroom, telling senators and House members this Congress is going to be the busiest Congress in decades, maybe ever. He addressed lawmakers shortly after Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto canceled a trip to Washington next week for his first meeting with the new president due to their disagreement over which of their countries would pay to build Trump's promised wall on the border between them. The wall is part of Trump's plan to halt illegal immigration in the United States, and he has long insisted that Mexico will pay. Peña Nieto insists his country will not. On the flight back to Washington, White House spokesman Sean Spicer told reporters traveling with the president that Trump will seek to impose a 20% tax on Mexican imports to pay for the wall. Congressional approval would be needed for such a step, but then later at the White House, Spicer tried to take back his earlier comments by saying the 20% tax is one of the several options under consideration, and Trump hasn't settled on it as the way to recoup construction costs for building the wall. In Trump's remarks to lawmakers, he cast the cancellation of his engagement with Peña Nieto as a mutual decision, saying that they had agreed to cancel our planned meeting. Trump had tweeted early today that it would be better to cancel the upcoming meeting, giving Peña Nieto's unwillingness to pay for the border wall. Well, we're going to see what happens. Time will tell. But you know what? Somehow, I just kind of think Trump's going to get what he wants. It's just simply going to be that way, whether they like it or not. Well, here's an analysis for you. Trump's border wall faces a reality check. President Donald Trump's vow to accelerate construction of the contiguous physical wall along the Mexican border is slamming into a Washington reality. Who's going to pay for it and how? Well, not us, say the Mexicans. Instead, U.S. taxpayers will foot the bill, starting with money already in the Department of Homeland Security account that amounts to a small down payment. Then it's up to the Republican-led Congress to come up with $12 billion, or somewhere between $12 and $15 billion more, according to an estimate offered by the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Republican from Kentucky, today from a GOP issues retreat in Philadelphia. GOP leaders refuse to comment or commit to paying for the wall with spending cuts elsewhere in the budget. That could mean costs would be paid for by adding to the government's $20 trillion debt. Press Secretary Sean Spicer today floated the idea of a 20% tariff on Mexican imports. Well, makes sense to me. On Wednesday, Trump promised immediate construction would begin on the border wall, telling ABC News that planning is starting immediately. He again vowed that Mexico would pay the U.S. back, though he offered no details. Well, we'll see what happens. It's going to certainly be through tariffs. That's just got to be the way it's going to be. It's, one way or another. Or it's going to be with the elimination of foreign aid to Mexico. It could be that way too. Well, it's official. Trump wants to slash the EPA workforce budget. And the former head of President Donald Trump's transition team at the Environmental Protection Agency said that today he expects the new administration to seek significant budget and tariff cuts. Myron E. Bell said in an interview with the Associated Press that Trump is likely to seek significant reductions to the agency's workforce, currently about 15,000 employees nationwide. E. Bell, who left the transition team last week, declined to discuss specific numbers of EPA staff that could be targeted for pink slips. Asked what he would personally like to see. However, E. Bell said slashing the agency size by about half would be a good start. Well, let's aim at half and see how it works out, and then maybe we'll want to go further, said E. Bell, who has returned to his position as director of the Center for Energy and Environment at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. The conservative think tank in Washington opposes global warming alarmism and receives a portion of its funding from corporations and individuals that profit from the continued burning of fossil fuels. E. Bell has long been a vocal critic of federal environmental regulations, which he claims are strangling the nation's economy and impeding job growth. Yeah, I would think he would think that. Let's see what happens. We've got to make sure, you got to hope the president knows what he's doing and that he's right. It's important to all of us. Well, Trump's border wall doesn't address some key shift in crossings. President Donald Trump's plan to erect a wall along the Mexican border overlooks a key change in how people enter the United States illegally. Many of them make no attempt to jump or a fence or evade authorities. They simply turn themselves in and ask for asylum. Asylum requests have surged in recent years, especially since 2014, when families and unaccompanied children fleeing drug violence in Central America overwhelmed agents in Texas. Those who express fear of returning home are often freed into the United States with a notice to appear before an immigration judge. It often takes years for the clogged courts to decide asylum cases. Migration is very, very different now. Gil, I hope I get it right, Kurlikwasi, Commissioner of the United States Custom and Border Protection from 2014 until last week, said today people are coming up to our ports of entry, walking up and asking for for some type of protection. Well, CBP does not release numbers on how many migrants turn themselves in versus how many are caught trying to avoid capture, but a pronounced shift is underway, and that's for sure, and you can expect that to continue, that's for sure. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about Mexican president canceling the planned D.C. meeting with Trump, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that and see what you have to say about it. We'll be right back, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news. Yes, sir. And I want you to know that at 3:12 p.m. Pacific time, it's still 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, that's on its way down to, what's it say here? 41 degrees. So it's going to get cold. But right now, we're talking about news. Let's talk about it some more. Mexican president cancels the planned D.C. meeting with Trump. Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto canceled a planned Tuesday meeting with President Donald J. Trump on Thursday, or today actually, signaling a remarkable souring of relations between Washington and one of its most important international partners just days into the new administration. The rift capped days of increasingly confrontational remarks on Twitter and in dueling public appearances between the two men, whose countries conduct some $1.6 billion a day in cross-border trade and corporate on everything from migration to, or cooperate on everything from migration to anti-drug enforcement to environmental issues. Well, hours after Trump tweeted that the meeting should be scrapped if Mexico doesn't agree to pay for a wall along the nearly 2,000-mile border, Peña Nieto responded via the same platform. This morning, we have informed the White House I will not attend the working meeting planned for next Tuesday. The Mexican president tweeted. He added that Mexico reaffirms its willingness to work with the United States to reach agreements that benefit both nations. In a speech later today, Trump doubled down on the dispute, saying that unless Mexico is going to treat the United States fairly, with respect, such a meeting would be fruitless, and I want to go a different route. We have no choice. Trump also claimed that calling off the meeting was a mutual decision and floated a new possible threat to Mexico, which sends about 80% of its exports to the United States and which has vowed not to pay for that wall. We're working on a tax reform bill that will reduce our trade deficit, increase American exports, and will generate revenue from Mexico that will pay for the wall if we decide to go that route, Trump said. Well, we'll see what's happened. You know, obviously the tariff will do it. We can't have people dictating to us, but you know what? We don't want to lose our friends either, I don't think. So we'll see what transpires. We'll see what happens. Somebody's going to float here. We do give foreign aid to Mexico on an annual basis. I mean, if Mexico wants to get tough, I'm supposing that Trump could just cancel that foreign aid. We'll see what happens. Trump is poised to seek new military options for defeating the Islamic State. President Donald Trump is expected to ask the Pentagon for ways to accelerate the fight against the Islamic State militants in Iraq and Syria. An official said that the options probably would include steps the Obama administration considered but never acted on, from adding significantly more U.S. troops to boosting military aid and Kurdish fighters. Trump's visit on Friday to the Defense Department's headquarters will start the conversation over how to fulfill its inauguration address pledge to eradicate radical Islamic terrorism completely from the face of the earth. Among the possible options are sending more Apache helicopters and giving the U.S. military broader authority to make routine combat decisions, according to current and former U.S. officials familiar with the ongoing discussions. The officials weren't authorized to publicly discuss internal deliberations and spoke on condition of anonymity. You know, what good does it do to swear them to secrecy if they're going to tell you what it is and just say you can't say who it is because we've been sworn to secrecy? That is just crazy, just absolutely crazy. Now, as a candidate and now president, Trump has never articulated a detailed plan for defeating ISIS, and his thoughts on the strategy are a bit murky. So we'll see what actually happens. No question about this. It's cost us trillions of dollars to be in that war. It's about time we did something about bringing it to an end, or bringing something to an end anyway. Well, rights activists warn of a backlash if Trump pursues torture. Here's the deal. It took more than a year's worth of beatings, sleep deprivation, psychological abuse, and threats to his family before former Guantanamo Bay detainee Mossam Beg said he cracked and confessed to being a member of the Al-Qaeda terror network. The only problem, he said, was that it was a lie. It was only a matter of weeks for Murad Benicheli, I think that's how you pronounce that, a Frenchman detained first at Kandahar in Afghanistan, because I was afraid, because I hurt, and because I told myself, when this is all worked out, I'll tell the truth. But for now, better to tell them what they want to hear, he said. Chris Arendt, a former guard at the United States detention facility in Cuba, said he routinely saw what could be defined as torture, including prisoners being unnecessarily pepper sprayed or taken for interrogations that never happened. Instead, they were left shackled for hours as the means of punishment. During the year he spent at the U.S. detention facility in 2004, Arendt said that it was clear that most of the detainees had relatively little valuable intelligence. Well, who do you believe? I don't know. I just simply don't know. Well, throngs cheer the new president's triumphant return to Gambia. Yeah, you thought you knew what I was going to say. Well, President Adama Barrow returned triumphantly to Gambia today, nearly 2 months after winning an election disputed by the country's longtime dictator, to the cheers of the hundreds of thousands who jammed the roads in welcome. That's my president, the crowds cried, eager to see Barrow fulfill the promise of democratic reforms and newfound freedoms in this tiny West African nation. The impasse after December the 1st balloting had brought Gambia to the brink of military intervention as regional leaders vowed to install the democratically elected Barrow despite legal efforts by longtime ruler Yahya Jammeh to overturn the results of the vote. Barrow had flown to Banjul from Senegal, where he had waited for Jammeh to leave Gambia. Well, things are happening all over the world. No telling what's actually going to result with all of this. I'll tell you one thing is going to happen. We're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you about the IRS loses. In the first cases, well, they lose mostly anyway. They have to pay for disclosures, and I'm going to tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, it's 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny, and I mean it's sunny, Southern California. Well, it's on its way down to 40 degrees, but if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 45 degrees and it's overcast. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, get ready for this. It's 34 degrees. And it's snowing. Yes, it is. So you know what? Just know that it's cold all over. But you know what? I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy all over. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. So let's get right to it. Just in case the IRS loses, well, mostly loses anyway, it pays for disclosures. You know, an IRS agent investigating a business owner's, some businesses' owners told several of their associates and customers that they were being investigated, accused the owners of committing various tax crimes, and told the customers that they might be liable for the owner's unpaid taxes. The owners sued the IRS, and a trial court awarded them, get this, $77,000 in damages, $1,000 for each disclosure, plus legal fees of more than $460,000, plus more than $170,000 in punitive damages. Well, the IRS objected to the awards on appeal, and this is what the court said. The IRS clearly violated confidentiality rules. The awards are upheld except the punitive damages, which are not allowed by law. Well, you know what? that just means that they didn't get the 170. They'd have to pay the 170,000, but they had to pay the 77,000 and the $460,000, and that has got to put a smile on your face. Yeah, they got what they got coming to them. Well, the IRS loses. Sideline expenses are deductible when they produce income. Just makes sense. Judy Toth was an executive and skilled equestrian who began a horse boarding and training facility initially as a sideline. But by the end of the first year, it was a for-profit business. The IRS's argument here, the activity initially did not qualify as a business, so expenses incurred during that period could not be deducted as business expenses, but had to be capitalized as startup costs incurred before the business actually began. Well, she went to court, is what the judge said. The activity produced income from the very start, and expenses incurred to generate income are deductible whether it's a business or not. So the expenses are absolutely deductible, and that's the way it ought to be. Well, here's one for you. The IRS ignored a court hearing. Here's the deal. A company that owed taxes to the IRS declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, to keep its business running, it sought to use cash that it had. Now, the bankruptcy court scheduled a hearing on the issue and sent notices of that to the 4 IRS offices. Now, the IRS didn't respond, and the court approved the use of the funds, again, sending notices to the IRS. Now, 6 weeks later, the IRS objected, saying that the hearing notices hadn't been properly sent to the United States Attorney's Office. The court said that it was too late. Its decision became final after 10 days. The IRS appealed. This is what the Court of Appeals said. The IRS had ample actual notice but failed to act. The 10-day deadline to appeal is upheld, and the decision stands. Yeah, you know what? They just try to make their own doggone rules. Here's one more for you. The IRS loses. Bound by its stipulations. Where do you get this? Doyle Mafia went to a tax court to dispute a tax bill on income from his 8.5% interest in a partnership. Now, both sides agreed to stipulated facts before that trial. Among them was that Mafia was not a notice partner who dealt with the IRS, so he was bound by the agreement that the partnership managers reached earlier with the IRS. Now, later, the IRS tried to change this stipulation, saying that Mafia was a notice partner and therefore wasn't bound by the agreement. Well, this is what the judge said. The IRS had no excuse for stipulating wrong facts. Throwing out the stipulation would require a costly trial to find facts to the taxpayer's detriment. The IRS remains bound by what it agreed was true. Now, doesn't that just make sense? Of course it does. Well, you know what else makes sense? This new segment that we've got here, we call it being a fly on the wall when you're in front of the IRS. Yeah, it's a little bit like the Twilight Zone. Yeah, here we are. You know what? Let's see if I got that. There we go. This is not really a tax court case, but these are things that if the IRS is doing things that you need to know about, you can use it to your advantage. You know, the most important, valuable thing you possess is information. Well, get ready for this one. Remedy for collection actions. You know, the IRS has a procedure that allows the taxpayer to contest a number of matters relating to the actions of the collection division. Now, examples of that: failure to grant the taxpayer an installment agreement. Whoops, I don't know what happened there. Anyway, not accepting an offer in compromise and enforcing a levy. To contest collection actions, the Form 12153, the request for collection due process hearing, or equivalent to have an IRS appeals officer hear your side of the story. If you're not satisfied with the appeals office, you can petition the U.S. tax court for reconsideration. The trap here is let's try that again. There, I think we've got it now. Okay, so anyway, you can petition the tax court for reconsideration. The trap? The tax court has no jurisdiction to consider your case unless you can prove that you have raised the issue that you want the court to rule on during the collection due process hearing. Now, the strategy is always document by sending a letter to the IRS that you ask the appeals office to consider the issues that you raised. Just makes sense, doesn't it? How about this? The Freedom of Information Act, that's FOIA, permits you to ask the IRS for copies of all documents in his possession relating to your audit examination or collection proceeding. Now, the request is made by addressing a letter to the local disclosure officer of the IRS and identifying the documents that you want. Now, a request should be made for all documents in your possession relating to a specific matter. Now, here's the problem with that. Sometimes disclosure office caseworkers are going to tell you that the documents that you've requested are just not available, or even not, and even though that they probably really are, you know. So the best approach here, speak to a manager and ask him or her to review the case, because it appears that information that you've requested has been omitted. There's some serious federal penalties to the IRS if they continue this kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with our own Sean LaFave with his Geared for Wellness Corner. And I'm pretty sure Sean and I are going to be talking about vaxxed and vaccines. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean LaFave, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:34 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, it's 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny, and I mean sunny, Southern California. Well, it's on its way down to 40 degrees, you know, God forbid. But you know what? If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Cleveland, Ohio, Hey, put on your raincoat because it's 35 degrees. It is raining. Much colder. It's going to be snowing. But you know what? You can be lucky. If you want to go for a walk and you happen to be in Wichita, Kansas, well, put on your jacket. It's 41 degrees, a little chilly, but it's clear outside and it's beautiful. You know what? Talking about clear, we're going to clear up some misconceptions and some lies that the CDC's been talking about with regard to vaccinations and measles and all of these things going on. We're going to do that with my good buddy, Sean LaFave. Hey, Sean, you sitting out there, bud?
I'm out here. How you doing, Robert?
I am doing well. I am absolutely overwhelmed with information that just blew my mind. Thanks to you.
Yeah, well, I have that tendency on people sometimes. I've been dealing with this stuff for a long time, and I still get overwhelmed. There are days I sit down and I just go, man, we're doomed. It's one of those things that what did Solomon used to say? With much wisdom comes much sorrow or much grief or something like that. And it's true. You learn about this stuff and you just go, wow, how did we get here and how do we fix it? It's scary stuff. But
well, let's hope that the new president does the same thing to the CDC that he's doing to the EPA, and he digs in and starts making them react like human beings, for Pete's sake.
Well, it's that seems to be part of his agenda, and again, it's the number one reason why I've supported him from the very beginning, and why my support has never wavered for him, because I truly believed that he would, and I still believe that he will, shake up things in the CDC and really get some real true research done. Appointing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a massive, huge first start. Someone who actually truly cares about vaccine safety is actually now in charge of the Vaccine Safety Board. So it's just awesome. And I'll tell you, Trump just, I think he did this today. He just repealed, I don't know if it was yesterday or today or when. I mean, it seems like he's been in office for, a month now. He's done so many things, but he just repealed all of the penalties that go along with Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it. So anyone who can't afford insurance now, they don't have to pay fines on top of it, which is absolutely fantastic.
Wasn't that the most ridiculous thing you ever heard of to start with? People can't afford insurance; they can't afford groceries, for God's sakes, and now you're going to penalize them with a fine? Yeah.
Yeah, it literally makes zero sense.
Yeah,
I can't wrap my mind around how people supported that. I can understand how a politician would pass it through, because it's just politics.
Mm-hmm.
But how there are American people out there who can support that is beyond me. I just don't get it. But it's been repealed, so I'm super happy. And you got a chance to watch the movie Vax. I've seen it 4 times.
It has so much information in it. I understand why you saw it 4 times. There's no way that you can assimilate all of that in one sitting. That's for sure.
No, you can't. And I could watch it, 10 more times, really. But I mean, every time I've seen it, I've seen it in the theaters every time, and I've seen it in a different city every time that I saw it too. And I've been back twice here in California, once in Utah, and another time in Kansas. And I just cry every time I watch it. I look at these damaged kids and the anguish in these parents' eyes, and what they're going through. And I just, and to think that our government has known that this is happening and why this is happening for as long as they have, and they've literally lied about it. Yeah.
Consider this. Do you remember when the kids at Sandy Hook, the 26 young children, were shot and killed by this mentally challenged guy? And Obama was got on the air, and he was actually shedding tears. And I'm not putting him down for that. But you know what? How about our own government sanctioning this travesty of misinformation that cripples little children forever, for Pete's sake? Where are the tears for that?
Yeah. There's too much profit in it to have tears. If our government could figure out how to profit off of school shootings, they probably would sanction them a little bit more. But you're right, and I've said this, and I've had this argument with people, and nobody really wants to hear it. But, when people talk about gun control and all the kids we can save and all the lives that would be saved, I go, this isn't really about saving lives. It's really about the main word there is control. It's not about saving lives. Because if we were about saving lives, we would change the way we make vaccines. We would change the way we make cars. When I don't know what the statistics are now.
Sean, the thing that was so the thing that was so evident when you watch this entire 2-hour and 15-minute Vax movie, when it came down, they were not against vaccines. They were against the vehicles for delivering those vaccines and multiple vaccines that were proven to be given too early in a child's life. They weren't really against vaccines, but you know what?
Yeah,
it's been so proven and so obvious that this mixture in the delivery vehicles that they're using are so bad and so wrong, and the data for when to give these things, it's all about profits. It's not about kids.
Right, it is. And to kind of take a step back for our listeners, what we're talking about is a movie called Vaxxed, VAXXED. We talked about it before, but I like the fact that you've seen it now so we can really talk a little bit more in depth about it. And the movie, it's called Vaxxed, and really the focus of the movie is not whether to be pro or anti-vaccine. That is actually not the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie is specifically the corruption inside of the CDC, and specifically the corruption around a study that the CDC did on the potential link between the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, and the onset of autism in children. And basically, we had a whistleblower, Dr. Thompson from the CDC, who was one of the lead researchers on this project, contact Dr. Hooker, and came out and said, look, we falsified information, we destroyed information, we changed the criteria and made the data fit the narrative that we wanted. When the fact was, we discovered there is in fact a link between the MMR vaccine and the onset of autism, especially among toddlers around the age of 1.5 years to 3 years?
Yeah, from 0 to 3 years. From 0 to 3. But the statistic that is just outright scary is the one that you used to see autism in children. You used to get, it was like 1 in 10,000 that you would see, and today it's 1 in 10 or 1 in 5. I think 1 in 5 kids get autism.
Well, it's actually 1 in 45, I think now, but it's on its way up, and what they're saying is, statistically speaking, if the trend continues, we will actually, by the year 2032, which is only 15 years from now, we will see 1 in 2, half of all kids. Yeah. And because of the disparity between boys and girls, it'll actually be 80% of boys and 20% of girls will be on the autism spectrum. And so it's a really scary prospect to think, if we don't get a handle on this, what's going to happen to this generation of kids that are being born right now? We're my generation, my son's generation, is going to be taking care of this next generation, and by the time that we're all too old to do it, if these people are even able to have kids, that generation is going to now be taking care of their parents. Yeah. And so, it's just unthinkable to see that the CDC knew that there was a problem, and that they in fact hid that problem from the public eye, from the American public, and like you were talking about before, this whole thing really is, the big controversy has been around for a long time, but Andrew Wakefield from England, he, as he talks about in the movie, he received a call from a parent who said, my son has autism, and he said, so Andrew Wakefield says, well, I'm a internal doctor, a medicine doctor. I'm not a autism specialist. You got the wrong person. And she said, no, he has horrible intestinal dysfunction, and nobody will take it seriously. And so he started doing some research into it, and what he found was not only was there seemed to be an associative cause between children who received the MMR vaccine, but more specifically, children who received the MMR vaccine and who also have a intestinal dysfunction going on, some sort of a bacterial overgrowth or a dysbiosis or something like that going on in the gut. And so he made a clear association between autism and gut dysfunction in relation to the MMR. And what he said was, our research is inconclusive. Further research is needed, and in the meantime, what he recommended was, instead of getting the MMR vaccine, go get the 3 individual vaccines: the measles individual, mumps individual, and rubella all individual. He never once said don't get vaccinated. He just said get them individually until we can figure out why there's this association going on. And of course, he was ostracized. People called him an anti-vaxxer. The big thing that, of course, the medical community said was, this is going to do too much damage to our MMR vaccine program. We can't.
Well, yeah, but how much BS is that, for God's sakes?
Right.
He wasn't anti-vaccine. He was anti-delivery, the way that they were doing it. You know what?
Right, yeah.
James Spears, who you saw on Vaxxed, he's not a renowned pediatrician, but he is a celebrity pediatrician who has a thriving pediatric practice. And when I say pediatrician, understand that that's a specialty beyond medical school. You go to medical school and then you specialize in pediatrics. This guy was dumbfounded at what he read. He couldn't believe that he had been lied to by the CDC and the AMA all these years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was I can even Jim Sears. There was another medical doctor, and then there was. I can't think of her name either. The only reason I know Jim Sears is because I got my coaching certificate through the Sears Wellness Institute, and Jim Sears and his father are both, nationally renowned pediatricians.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the other gal, but she was on the TV show Doctors. That's
I saw her, but I don't recall her name.
Yeah, and I never watched the show, but both of them, read the report and they read the study. It wasn't a report; they just read the study, the raw data, and both of them said, "This is unbelievable. I've been lied to. Everything that I've been told is based on a lie."
Yes,
and they both said the same thing. I don't know that I can recommend this vaccine for anybody ever again. And when you see the real numbers, and you see the real statistics, it's scary. And there's a lot of us, like myself, who have just, we've seen too many inconsistencies in a lot of different areas, and we've believed for a long time that there is a link. And there have been other studies that have done that have shown the link, but nothing done here in the United States of this magnitude, of this power. And it's it's scary. And this is just a study that compared children who were vaccinated during a certain period of time compared to children who were also vaccinated, but maybe later on, like after 3 years.
Yeah.
So the children who received the MMR vaccine after 3 years were far less likely to contract autism compared to the ones that were vaccinated, before the age of 3. And the number for black boys, African American boys, was like they were 3.7 times more likely, or 3.5 times basically more likely to become autistic. The number for this makes me go, where's the cries on racism here?
Oh yeah.
Where's Black Lives Matter here? Where is Al Sharpton? How come Al Sharpton isn't standing up and going, hey, we're destroying our African American boys in this? Could you imagine if?
Well, you know what? No offense meant, but it's because there's no money in Al Sharpton's pocket to take that on.
Right. Oh, exactly. Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, Al Sharpton is a complete shark.
He's a pot steer. He's a pot stirrer that puts profits in his pockets.
Right.
So the thing is, it's not that Black Lives Matter. Is that all lives lives matter, and it is a horrible statistic with black boys and African American boys, as opposed to all of the kids that are getting it, and even as opposed to African American girls, which is a higher rate than what Caucasians are, but much less than African boys. The thing is, this is just atrocious. This is inhumane. I didn't want to believe it, Sean, but it's pretty hard to refute the evidence that's being projected in that movie Facts. And I don't understand. Yeah, I do understand. Just like the media is playing games with our new president, the media plays games whatever they get paid to do.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And there's too much money in this for them to not continue the game. And they'll, I would like to think that maybe someday they'll just, phase this out or make the changes necessary. But at this point, I don't even believe that they could do it fast enough, even if they wanted to. And really, I can't tell you how excited I am to think that Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy are going to do something about this. I believe that if it doesn't happen during the next 4 years, it will never happen.
Well, I'll bet you it doesn't take 4 years. Look at how fast. I mean, I don't want to get into a political end of this thing, or maybe I do. The thing is look at what Donald Trump has done in less than a week. Look at the things that the actions that he's taken. This guy is not going to sleep until he gets all of his promises taken care of, and two, the government fixed. You know what? If you don't support that, then you need to move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Anyone who doesn't want him to succeed, that's like, I can't remember who it was who said that's like wanting the pilot on the airplane that you're flying in to fail. You just don't want that. It's not a good idea. So, I do believe that something's going to come out of his pursuit of this, and I'm just, if nothing else, I just would like to see us find a way to stop this trend in autism. And this study is just one study.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because this is just one little piece of a gigantic problem.
Yeah, this doesn't study the flu shot. It doesn't study, DTaP or any of the other ones. It doesn't study. It's just literally one study on one vaccine in one segment and of our society. And the numbers from this alone are scary. You think we've got 23 other vaccines out there that we could possibly have fraudulent data on.
Yeah.
We don't know that, or at least
Sean,
the very most pure says we have no data.
Yeah, Sean, wouldn't if they're doing this with MMR, why would you think that they're not doing it with all of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't. I believe that they would hide the data. And and the thing that I don't know if the general public knows this, but the thing with drugs, and this is just another form of a drug, is put out by a pharmaceutical company, is the studies that are done by the pharmaceutical companies themselves, and then the data is handed over to the FDA, and they look at it and they go, okay, great, this looks acceptable, and they approve or disapprove if it's not acceptable. And the fact is, every drug that's ever killed people and been recalled was first approved by the FDA. Even ones as horrible as Vioxx, which killed 50,000 people directly.
Well, yeah, but Sean, here's the thing: you could set up your own lab, run your own tests that you pay for. You submit them to the CDC, and they just look at the data that you provided them with to make this decision. How cockeyed is that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There is no third-party accountability of any type. I mean, even the CDC had great incentive to make sure that they had test results or the results from this study had study results that were in line with the narrative. There was a huge disincentive to tell the truth. And like I said, Thompson himself, when he was told, look, you need to stand up and tell people that these are the results of the test, and he said, I'm uncomfortable doing that. I can't do it because I know the truth. They took him down and put another scientist up in his place.
Yep.
And they just replaced him. That's all. And they just put a different puppet up. That's all. And so geez, I can't think of her name. All of a sudden, the gal who was the head of the CDC at the time, of course, she went on to secure a very significant position at Merck, who was coincidentally the maker of, or is the maker of, the MMR vaccine. So she went straight from the CDC to being an executive at Merck. What are the odds of that happening? And so it's, and I for the life of me, I can't think of her name. You'd think I'd have it burned into my brain, but it's not coming up right now. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, she got this position, after this drug was proven to be safe, which in fact it is not safe. And you look at everything from, Del Bigtree, he quit his job as a producer of the TV show Doctors, very successful, a career that was well respected. Everyone looked at him and said, man, you're doing a great job, you're doing a good thing. And he quit that to go make this movie Vaxxed, which he knew he was going to get a lot of backlash. Why would he do that if he didn't absolutely 100% believe that this data was true, that this was, like he said, he was still doing the show Doctors when this story broke, and he said it blew up on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, and he was watching this and thought, this is amazing. He goes, boy, I would love to do a show on this, but I have contributions from, CDC's a good friend of ours. We get contributions from different pharmaceutical companies for our show, so we really can't really bring this into our show. It would be a conflict of interest. But he goes, it's not a big deal because within a couple of weeks, the mainstream media is going to get a hold of this and it's going to go nationwide. And he said those 2 weeks went by and then more and more, and no one ever picked up the story. And he realized, you know what? And that was the line that he said. He goes, not only are the pharmaceutical companies paying for our TV show, they're financing all of the news in general.
Yeah.
And like that series that you got to see part of it, and I'll make sure you get to see all 9 of them. I haven't even watched all 9 of them yet, because you watch 9 2-hour shows 9 days in a row. Oh, yeah. That's a lot. Well, that's why I bought it.
Well, you know what, and you don't really want to do that because you can't absorb it all that way. What you need to do is, look at it, consider it, analyze it, think about it, and then move to the next one. These things are just so demoralizing when you're watching them. So disappointing when you find out that you're being told, you're being lied to, and that you're being sheltered from the truth. I guess it would be another way of saying it. I just don't want to believe that that's how our government is going to allow this country's departments who are created to protect us to act. Anyway, we have to take a break, Sean. When we come back, let's continue this conversation. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
No, I'm just saying, okay, sounds great.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we'll be right back with Sean LaFave and Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, it's 30 degrees. Get your umbrella out because it's raining, but it's also 1 o'clock in the morning. So, just listen to my show indoors. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it's 41 degrees and it's clear. Where would you rather be? I don't know. Either one of them, whether it's raining or it's clear. Both of those cities are fantastic. And talk about fantastic, well, we're talking about my good buddy, Sean LaFave, and his Geared for Wellness Corner. There isn't anything more fantastic than that. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone.
All right. So just, I want to make sure I promote this too, but for those who are listening, if you're finding what we're saying hard to believe, which I even still to this day can't believe some of the things that I see, even though I'm looking right at them and they're the truth. This movie is called Vaxxed. It's VAXXED, and you can just go to vaxxedthemovie.com. So it's all one word, vaxxedthemovie.com, and you can watch it. You can download it for $3.99. And if anyone wants to watch it and they think it was a total waste of time, then they can get a hold of me and I'll give them their $4 back. That's it's a pretty eye-opening movie to watch. It's just downright frightening, and it's heart-wrenching is what it is. It's really it's just you watch this and you see the destruction, and you see these kids and what these families have gone through. And as a person who has a son who has never been vaccinated, this even when I was, when my son was born. I had that discussion with his mom, and she was, she had already researched this stuff and knew that she didn't want to vaccinate. And I had a very good friend of mine who was also on that same side, and he said, "Yeah, man," he goes, "You don't want to vaccinate?" And I said, "Well, why not?" And they had a discussion with me, and I sat down and I went and bought books. I read. It was back before the internet was really big. I don't think I did any online research. I went out and bought actual paper books and read them. And I went, you know what? I don't see that the risk is worth the potential benefit for my family, for my son, because when people talk about, like people die from even things like the flu, or they die from all these, or the measles, or whatever the case might be, it's typically, they're quoting third world statistics, people who are living in unsanitary conditions. Maybe they've already got some sort of, health condition that's already, existing that exacerbates it. But for a healthy person who is living in a clean city, like I always lived in the suburbs, or maybe even a little bit more in the country, or even in a clean part of the city. I've never lived in really unhealthy living conditions in my whole life. The risk of contracting even things like measles and other, even, polio is definitely, they don't vaccinate for polio anymore, but I guess they do. I'm sorry, but But nobody's contracted it in this country for over 30 years now. But the risks are so low for anybody in living in clean conditions that the risk involved with getting the vaccine to me just wasn't worth it. And it was a good decision. I'm glad I made it. And it was my decision. I was glad I even had that decision. There are some places now where they're taking that away from us. But I look at, like I was talking about Bill Bigtree, why would he leave a prestigious job to produce a movie that he knew was going to be very controversial and was going to create a lot of backlash for him, and it really did. And the vast majority, I've never met a single person who got into the world of speaking out against vaccines so that they could do it to make a profit. I've never met one person who's, in fact, the vast majority of the people that I know, that they make zero money. There are people like, I'm sure, Robert F. Kennedy probably gets speaking engagement, endowments and, all these things. He gets paid for what he does, and that's great. And I think that people should get paid for having that much influence. He has a lot more influence than someone like me. But the vast majority of people who believe this, they believe it because they've researched it and they went, you know what, that's right. And how do you look in the eyes of thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of parents who will tell you, my child was perfectly healthy and then got this vaccine, and that night changed, and the next day was completely different, and within a month was gone forever, and to say, well, then the doctors will tell them, well, he was already autistic, you just didn't notice it. No, I have video proof of how perfect he was.
Yeah. How many baby pictures, baby movies did we see in the movie Vaxxed, the before and the afters? It's just heart-wrenching.
It wasn't even the same kid. It was heart-wrenching. Yeah. Yeah. And that woman with the twins, that one was the one that blew my mind. She had a boy and a girl.
Oh, twins. Yeah.
Yeah, and the nurse accidentally gave her son the 2 MMR vaccines. Instead of just one, gave him 2, because the second one was supposed to go to the daughter, and the mom got so upset. Before the daughter could even get any vaccines, she took both the kids and left. And by that night, he was, having... he was reacting. He was gone. Yeah. By the next day, her son was gone within 24 hours. And and they said, well, he seems to have had a reaction, and on and on. And they tried to convince him that it had nothing to do with the vaccines. Well, of course, it had everything to do with the vaccines. How do you explain a perfectly healthy boy?
They're right. He had a reaction to malpractice. That's what the reaction was to. You know what? Whether it would have happened as quickly, I don't know. But with that young boy, it would have happened anyway with even the single.
Yeah, it would have happened whether he got one shot or 2. Yeah. I'm sure.
All it did was exacerbate the issue and make it manifest its.
It just onset more
quickly. Yeah, absolutely.
And the daughter, of course, is perfectly healthy. Yeah. She plays piano. She speaks like 3 languages. You look at her, she's this beautiful young woman who is very intelligent, excels in school, on, and she's got a brother who can't even communicate.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is heart-wrenching to see that. And, these kids, the babies that are crying, and the kids that, repeatedly bang their heads against things.
Oh, yeah.
And you just look at that, and I can't imagine. I look at my son, and I'm like so grateful, that I have this healthy son. And I watch this movie, and I think to myself, oh, how would I react if that was my son?
Well, even besides the accepted, not accepted. What's the word I want to use? Even besides the fact that autism is a brain defect function, the cause of these kids hitting their heads against the walls has got to be concussive, and it's got to even cause more damage to the brain than
of course.
And so this is just a catastrophic thing that somebody has got to put an end to.
Yeah. Somebody has got to put it into it, and it's going to take more than just Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy. I mean, yeah, even though he's the president, it's going to take public awareness. It is going to have to become something that is in the public eye, that the public becomes aware of, just like smoking, just like, I can't remember that chemical that Aaron Brockovich found in the drinking water,
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Sean. If you get somebody like the President of the United States, who is now making this thing public information, and this guy's not afraid to put things out on the airwaves. He's not afraid to put things on Twitter and Facebook. He'll get it out there, and people are not going to be able to ignore it. Now, they may castigate him because he's going against the accepted CDC findings, but the truth is he'll get it out there, and he'll actually call for an investigation, just like he did with the voter fraud stuff. He'll do it whether you like it or not, because it's the right thing to do.
The right thing to do, yeah. He doesn't care. Obviously, he doesn't care what people think about him. And I agree. I think he will do it because it's the right thing to do. And I'm so excited to see what's going to happen over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm just beside myself. So yeah, it's the movie Vaxxed, obviously this 9-part series called Vaccines Revealed. It's no longer available to watch online, but you can of course order the videos. But to just sit there and listen to I'd say one of the parts that Dr. Tenpenny is her name, and I've actually seen her. It was a few years ago. I saw her speak, and it was probably 8 years ago, something like that. I watched her live. I was at an event, and they said, "Hey, Dr. Tenpenny, we were able to secure her for dinner tonight. If anyone wants to go," and it was like $75 a plate or something like that, if you want to go sit and listen to her give a presentation. And I'm like, yeah, give me 4 tickets. And I was like, this woman she's amazing. But she was the one, I don't know if you remember, she was talking about when she was a young medical doctor, and this man brought his I don't know if it was a son or daughter in, who had a reaction to, she was looking back, I realized that this child had a reaction to a vaccine, but the dilated eyes and the weird behavior, she goes, when I looked at the child, my thought was shaken baby syndrome. Yeah. And she goes, I called the police and I had this man arrested. And she goes, and I will never forget the look in that man's eyes as the police took him away. Like, he just couldn't believe what was happening to him. He had done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And she goes, and I had him arrested and put in jail.
Yeah.
And
his child taken away.
And his child taken away from him. Yeah, because, and obviously, you hear that and you think, how could she do that? But she could do that because she was taught that the vaccines were perfectly safe and the vaccines couldn't possibly cause something like this.
Yeah.
And so to her, the only other answer was, this baby's been shaken, this baby's been abused somehow and has received a trauma, and the only person around is dad. Well, he's the number one prime suspect.
Yeah.
And the medical community has that type of authority to have you arrested on nothing more than an assumption.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought. And it was heart-wrenching to think, that she did that. At least she's willing to admit, look, I did something horrible because of my misunderstanding of how vaccines work. I now know that these vaccine damages will lead to things that look just like shaken baby syndrome or SIDS.
Yeah.
Or obviously autism. And, and so like I said, I've been researching this for a long time. Obviously, my son's 21, so I've been researching it for more than 21 years now. And I've never seen anything that's ever made me go, gosh, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Sean, how frustrating must this be for you? I mean, you've been trying to hammer this at me for about 3 years and couldn't get through, and I've been, on the air. I've been espousing my own beliefs and what's going on, and just disagreeing, right? And then all of a sudden, here we are 3 years later, and it seems like you chipped through that hardcore because you really got to me. How frustrating is that for you? Because you just can't get to the masses.
Yeah, it's at times it's frustrating. There are times when I just want to just quit.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when I get angry. I've had I posted stuff on Facebook and had people come and accuse me. I mean, I had someone say, people like you are the reason why millions of people die every year. And I'm going, okay, well, great. I'm glad that you think I'm a murderer now. But, and they're, for the most part, I've just kind of, grown some thick skin, and I've gotten used to it. And I understand that everybody's coming from a different point of view, and you just have to go one thing at a time. But it was like I said earlier, the thing that keeps me going, this is a fight worth fighting, is I look at these damaged kids, and I've worked with these damaged kids, and I think, what would I do if that was my kid? I look at my son, like I said, and I imagine, what if that was him? Yeah. Would I ever stop? No, of course I wouldn't. I would never stop if my son, if I had given my son vaccines and he was damaged by them, and I knew it in my heart, there's no way I could ever stop. And so, just because it didn't directly affect me, I don't find that reason enough for me to not just continue telling everybody I can about it. And there are days when I just, I don't really want to deal with it because I just want to relax. But then there are the days where, I wake up fighting mad and I don't care what anybody has to think. Yeah. And, sometimes I may even come across, that's the one thing I actually have to stop myself, is coming across too strong with people sometimes,
I'm sorry, what kind of people?
I said just coming across too strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I gotta come out and not hit them with a big hammer. Mm-hmm. This is sometimes what I want to do. And be gentle and be kind. As they say, kill them with kindness, and just hope that people will eventually. And I've had people that will come around and they'll eventually go, wow, like yourself.
Well,
I honestly never believed that you would ever come around to this position. I was okay with that.
Well, you know what? I'm old, but I'm not stupid. And here's the thing. This is worse than Russian roulette, because you're playing Russian roulette not with the destruction of your own mind, but with the destruction of your children's mind. How do you forgive yourself because you resisted facts that are sitting out there, or because the facts weren't presented to you properly?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we are playing Russian roulette with, even with ourselves. If you're still getting things like that one young man that had been given the oh my gosh, what is that called when you step on a rusty nail?
Tetanus.
Tetanus. Yeah, he got the tetanus shot, and which, by the way, tetanus does not come from rusty nails, but he got the tetanus shot, and it completely destroyed his life. He was just, what it wasn't that the tetanus shot in itself is what did it to him. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. We live in such a toxic world, and all of a sudden, boom, you give the guy a shot, and now he's got all these neurotoxins piled up on top of what may have already, he felt like a healthy person, but maybe he's got some glyphosate in his body, and he's already got some heavy metals, and he's already got exposure to.
It's the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
Yeah. And so it's if it was 100% necessary, then you'd have to go, okay, we're going to have to figure out what's an acceptable number for our losses. But the fact is, it's not absolutely necessary, especially not in the mass quantities that we're giving. I was watching this video clip yesterday. It was something that I actually had posted. Facebook does this thing every day. They say this, on this day back in, whatever year, you posted, and it shows you everything you posted on this calendar date. And I had posted this video of clips from like movies and TV shows and stuff, and how they were talking about measles, and like they were basically going, oh, it's just measles. You'll be fine. You'll get over it, and they like, oh, we've got measles, so we can't go out. Okay, great. Now, don't worry about them. It's like, oh, great. Now, what are we going to do? Or how's this going to impact the dollar line, the bottom, the bottom line, or whatever. But even the mainstream media or mainstream TV and movies, back in the 50s and 60s were basically saying, look, it's just measles. It's not a big deal.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about that a little bit more. I want to talk about that and this big thing that was going on with Disneyland late last year with regard to the measles and the thing that was going on. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, General Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. Well, you know what? It's 4:22 p.m. Pacific time, and it's still only 60 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 40 degrees. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Vienna, Austria, well, it's 25 degrees. It's cold. It's clear. And if you're in Madrid, Spain, it's 43 degrees and it's mostly cloudy. But you know what? No clouds ever over the head of my good buddy, Sean LaFave, in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Sean, you got the microphone. We were talking about the measles. And do you remember last year when there were, I think it was a half a dozen people or something like that, wound up contracting the measles because they were together at Disneyland or some big deal. They made some big thing out of that.
Yeah, they made a huge deal out of it. Like, everybody needs to run out and get vaccinated, and on and on. And you know, the truth is, there were, you know, they actually said they were able to trace it to an unvaccinated person, which may very well be. But you know, we also know that matter of fact, most of the people who contracted measles were vaccinated. And we also
and that's the interesting part. So what? They traced the onset to an unvaccinated person, but still, there were vaccinated people that contracted disease. So what good was the vaccine for them?
Right, yeah, it wasn't doing any good to them. Exactly, it didn't do a thing, and you know, and that's the problem that you know, myself and a lot of other people have is, you know, we get these vaccinations and people are still contracting. You know, matter of fact, like the mumps has been a really bad. It's been this past, you know, I guess, you know, holiday season, I guess, is when it really got bad. But the mumps have been really bad this past year, and I think almost everybody who's contracted them been primarily college kids who were fully vaccinated. And, you know, and I mean, there's been entire universities where the entire population that was infected with mumps were all vaccinated, not one single unvaccinated person.
Now, Sean, that's a vaccine you only get once as a kid, right? It's supposed to protect you for the rest of your life.
I think, yeah, well, it's supposed to, but that's the problem. That's what they were saying is actually, that's part of the MMR vaccine, and you're supposed to get it at least once, and supposed to get a booster as well. And what they're saying is the problem, though, is and this is one of the things I've talked about with the type of immunity that we get through a vaccination is an incomplete immunity. It gives you a different immune response than you would if you were to contract it through airborne or through physical touch or something like that. You bypass, you know, the skin and the mouth and the nose and the eyes and all that would, you know, create a different type of antibody response to it. But what they're saying is that really these things are effective for about 10 to 12 years. And so you get it as a child. By the time you're in your late teens, it's worn off. You go to college, someone gets mumps, and then boom, it spreads like wildfire because they're really not truly protected.
But if you actually get the mumps, then you're immune from it for the rest of your life, right?
Now you're immune from it for the rest of your life. And in mumps, again, nobody's died from mumps, even though it's been really bad this year. Nobody died from the measles. Supposedly someone died in 2015, but I was reading an article about it, and it was kind of like the person also had some other health conditions, and I think they technically died of pneumonia. But when a person has pneumonia and they also have something like measles or the flu, they automatically defaulted to the more serious.
Well, you know, you do know that everyone dies from the exact same thing. Their heart stops.
Yeah, exactly. They all die from heart failure. Exactly. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. And so, you know, really, to die from measles in this country, or mumps, or the flu, or whatever. In fact, there was a gal. Well, this one's scary. I just read this article. I think it was yesterday. It was a healthcare worker. She. Oh gosh, where was she living? I want to say she was in Wisconsin or something like that, but it doesn't really matter where she lived. But she, in early December, she because she was working in a hospital or some sort of healthcare facility, she was required to get a flu vaccine. She was 26 years old, and towards the end of December, she started she actually came down with the flu. Was just feeling horrible, or at least she had flu symptoms anyway, and she was just feeling horrible. And by January 1st, she told her mom, said, "Mom, I feel terrible. I haven't been sick like this in forever." And I think on the second or third or something like that, I think on the second, she went to the hospital, and by I think it was January 5th, she died because she had sepsis. And you're thinking, how does a perfectly healthy young gal go from just not feeling well to all of a sudden a few days later is dead because she got sepsis? And sepsis is, sepsis is a bloodborne issue. It's not, of course, the article that I read just the mainstream one.
That's a bloodborne infection, right?
It's a bloodborne infection. That's exactly what it is. They say in rare cases the flu can cause that. And I'm going, it doesn't make sense. I mean, is it possible? I suppose anything is possible, but really it's infections and toxins, and it's basically, the way I look at it is something got into her bloodstream when she got that shot, and it eventually turned into an infection, and she got sepsis, because a perfectly healthy 26-year-old woman doesn't get sepsis from the flu. It's just, if someone gets sepsis, it's probably a person who's already sick to start with. Those are the kind of people that are going to get sepsis. And I can't imagine if I've ever even heard of
you know what? But don't you start questioning the medical science involved, or think about. I keep thinking about these poor girls who got toxic shock because of Tampax. And I mean, they've been using it for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, they misuse this in some way, or they mismanufacture this in some way, and these poor girls that have been using these Tampax products get toxic shock. I mean, what the hell are they doing out there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of that, it's funny talking about the tampons.
Yeah.
Is they're saying a lot of this problem is coming from, we started using glyphosate. People have been using tampons for a long time. Women have been using tampons for a long time, but it's the way now these pesticides that we use, and they're saying, look, if you're using a non-organic tampon, you're inserting glyphosate into your body. And of course there's going to eventually be a reaction. You can't just keep putting chemicals and neurotoxins in your body and expect to not eventually have a reaction. And so, we have changed the way that we've designed things, just from the simple change in what Monsanto's done with the introduction of the glyphosate or Roundup pesticide that we use on just about everything nowadays.
Yeah. It just boggles my mind, and it terrifies me, especially since I've got grandchildren, and someday they're going to have children, and what goes on in medical society today. So I'm saying it that way because I want to make sure that everybody understands that I believe that this is a worldwide thing. Maybe not as rampant as it in some areas as it is in others, but certainly we have a problem here in the United States. And the case, and the proof of this is, you get cancer here in the United States. Most of the time, it's a death penalty that you get. But there are people that are treated for those same cancers abroad that seem to be effective. And I don't understand. If you are diagnosed with a terminal illness, I don't understand why any medication that you want to try should be barred to you.
Right, I agree. Yeah, it's your choice. As long as there's full disclosure, I have no problem with people trying. Like, look, here's the risk involved. This drug could actually kill you. It could cure you. You've got a 98% chance of dying without it. Yeah. But with it, you've got a 20% chance of living, but an 80% chance of dying. Because the drug itself could actually kill you. Well, okay, that might be a risk worth taking if you know you're going to die anyway, and you have full disclosure. That's my thing. Even with vaccines, if someone chooses to still vaccinate even after they've been given full disclosure on the risks involved, then that's that person's choice. And I would never actually condemn someone for that because they still believe that the risk is worth it. Well,
Sean,
that a person was fully, I think if they were fully informed consent as they call it, I think most people would be terrified to continue with vaccinations.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Sean, I think people that live in third world countries are a lot better off than some of the rest of us because, if you think about the Ebola virus, which was a horrible, horrible thing, those people brought that on themselves with filth and bad hygiene things in the way that they live their lives. It was not something that just automatically took place. And you know what? All of a sudden, here we are, and we're creating all these medical vaccines and medical drugs and all of these things just strictly to make money. I'm not so sure that we're that much better off. If we'd have just had good health hygiene and good cleanliness hygiene, we might be better off than we are today.
Yeah, and that's the argument that a lot of proponents of doing away with this vaccination program are saying. They're saying, look, it isn't the vaccines that eradicated these diseases or minimize these diseases. It was our change in in sanitary conditions. It was plumbing. It was, having toilets that flush instead of using an outhouse.
Yeah.
It was having, washing our hands with soap every day and all these different things. We live in a very, very sanitary world nowadays. If you look at the parts of the world where it's not sanitary, like you talk about Ebola, well, that's rampant in parts of the world like the Congo, where it's just filthy living conditions.
Yeah.
It's not rampant in places where the living conditions are clean, where they have indoor plumbing and they've got electricity and they've got, medical care, where people actually wash their hands. And so it really boils down to more our living conditions. If you look and you tie the history of the diseases into the changes in lifestyle and how we live, you'll see that it was really the sanitary living conditions that had the greater impact on these diseases like polio and measles and so on, and more so than the vaccines did, if the vaccines even really had any impact at all.
Yeah. It's a scary world we live in, and what makes it even worse are these self-serving companies and individuals that are out there strictly to make a profit and not to help mankind. They'll tell you that they're out there trying to do all this research and development to help mankind, but that is not what it's all about. It's all about the bottom line. It's all about the glorious bank account. It's all about the return on investment. It's got nothing to do with helping mankind.
Right. No, I agree with you. I used to believe that that's what it was about, and I don't believe that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's demoralizing, and isn't it sad that we feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure which is worse, knowing the truth and realizing how horrible it really is, or living in ignorance. Yeah. Sometimes, as they say, ignorance is bliss, and sometimes there are days I wish I could just forget a whole lot of things I've learned, just so I could go out and eat something and enjoy it and not know what it's doing to my body and not realize, that our government's deceiving us. And, there are days that I wish I could wake up and I could just hit a button where I could just forget everything for 24 hours and just enjoy living and not see someone and go, I wonder if this person was damaged by this or that.
We talk about these things. I mean, I am proud to be American. I'm so lucky to have been born in this country. I recognize that. I think this is the greatest country on earth, the strongest country on earth, the richest country on earth. I think there's tremendous opportunities for people that are not lazy in this country. But at the same time, I can be critical of this country and criticize it, especially when I start hearing the kind of things that you and I were discussing on the air today. You know what? Yeah. This is a fantastic country. Do not get me wrong. But there are parts of it, segments of it, that are detestable.
Yeah. When there are, I love the free market system. I love, capitalism and the drive to make a better mousetrap, and should be rewarded for those things. But when the rewards are given to people who are doing things that are creating damage, because they're able to hide the information or whatever, when there's an incentive for, a system, in this case, a medical system, to perpetuate something that isn't even proven, that's when it becomes a problem. And there, it would be great. I don't think it would be possible, but it'd be great if we could take the financial incentive away from the medical world in these things like the vaccine, or the things that are for the greater good. Or just put I get a cast,
or put a profit margin cap on it. Anyway, we're out of town. Yeah, you are out of town. We're out of time, my friend. What are we going to talk about on Tuesday?
Gosh, I don't know, but I tell you what, I'm going to be, there's 4 of the people that were in that series: Robert Kennedy and Del Bigtree and Patrick Gentempo and Dan Pompa, that I'm going to actually be meeting with next month. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to see if I can get those 4 guys on our radio show.
Absolutely.
In March. Yeah. So, but next week, I don't know. We'll try to talk about something that's not quite so depressing, and maybe something that's just happy, the fun, exciting facts of the medical world and the natural healthcare world on Tuesday.
From your lips to God's ears, my friend. Hey, another fantastic show with Sean LaFave. Sean, I'm not even going to text you because it's it's getting redundant. It is. I just love so much the interaction and the dialogue that we have together on the show. It's just phenomenal. You just stay safe. Have a wonderful, fun weekend. Enjoy yourself. Make everybody around around you happy, which is what you do all the time. And we'll talk to you on Tuesday. How's that sound?
You bet. Sounds great. Same to you, Robert. Thank you so much.
All right. And the rest of you folks, stick around, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the birthdays for the day, the daily teaching for your life, interesting but useless facts. And then after that, we'll be doing our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. And today's story, well, the mother of Mother's Day. There's a shocker coming up on that, so you don't want to miss it. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:42 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, it's still 60 degrees outside. On its way down to 40 degrees. It's going to be a little chilly here in sunny Southern California. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Sydney, Australia, well, it's 72 degrees and it's overcast. And if you happen to be in Lisbon, Portugal, they had thunderstorms a little earlier, but right now it's 52 degrees and it's raining. But right now, I want to talk to you about the secret daily teaching for your life. I say it every day. It's all up to you. It's all about a positive mental attitude. I'm not going to give you that whole litany again today. But generally, I am going to say you control your life. It's all about your inner feelings. Well, you know what the secret for today is? Every single person deserves to live a wonderful life, and they have the power to do that through the law of attraction. Now, when you tend to your happiness and joy, something wonderful happens. You begin to overflow with joy. and every single person that you come into contact with is touched by your joy. One person in joy brings so much joy to the world through the magnificent matrix of our universe. The power within us, in each of us, is unfathomable when focused in the direction of all good for all. Yeah. And you control it. You make it happen. Absolutely. Well, you know what today is. Sure we do. Everybody knows what today is. Today is Thursday, is January the 26th, and it is somebody's birthday. And we've got some terrific and notable birthdays for you today. Well, actually, I think we have some terrific and notable birthdays every day. But this first one is a fellow that was born in 1880, died in 1964. General and a highly decorated U.S. soldier of war. Yes, happy birthday, Douglas MacArthur. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when Truman fired him in, I think it was 1956, if I'm not mistaken, and brought him back from Korea. I remember staying up seeing that. Well, here's another man, born 1925, died in 2008, an actor, film director, entrepreneur, humanitarian, and auto racing enthusiast. Know who it is? Sure. Happy birthday, Paul Newman. Yes. And then finally, born in 1958, hosts the syndicated talk show, well, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, and is also a judge on American Idol, having joined the show in its ninth season. Happy birthday, Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. Well, I know you're wondering what happened today in history. I give it to you every day, so there's no reason why I'm not going to give it to you today. So settle down, get in your comfortable chair, have coffee or a cocktail, whatever's going on, and let me tell you what happened on January the 26th, 1838. Well, Tennessee enacts the very first prohibition law in the United States. That's one of the things that happened. And on this date in 1934, the Apollo Theater reopens in Harlem, New York City. And then finally, on January 26, 2004, a whale explodes in the town of Tainan, Taiwan. A buildup of gas in the decomposing sperm whale caused the explosion. Yeah, isn't that something? Well, you know what? Our quote for today comes from the inimitable Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy. And he says, humor is everywhere in that there's irony in just about anything a human does. Well, that's an absolute truth, isn't it? Sure. Well, you know what? Let's talk about those interesting but useless facts. We've got a number of them in a couple of minutes to give you some of them. So why don't we just get to it? Did you know that you can only see a rainbow if you have your back to the sun? Interesting, but makes sense, doesn't it? Because you got to see the light spectrum. Sure. How about this? Did you know that most kangaroos eat grass? Yeah. How about this one? Every night, wasps bite into the stem of a plant, lock their mandibles into position, stretch out at right angles to the stem, and with legs dangling, fall asleep. Now, isn't that something? Yeah, go figure. Did you know that although Argentina's name means land of silver, there is actually very little silver there? It was misnamed by explorers who thought they saw silver there. Yeah, well, okay. Try this one on for size. There are 48 Gutenberg Bibles still in existence. 2 of them were in Germany during World War II and are missing. But many book collectors believe them to be in private collections. Yeah. Well, I saw one of them at the, I can't think of the name of the museum that I went to, and isn't that horrible? I can't think of the name of it now, but I saw one of them anyhow. How about this? Did you know that the date palm trees in Iraq are passed down through generations as part of a family legacy? The trees are given individual names, have carefully recorded personal histories, and are considered a basic part of family wealth. Yeah. Well, let me leave you with this. It is illegal in Georgia to use profanity in the presence of a corpse. Go figure that one out. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And it's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Yes, sir. You know what? The American Broadcasting Company calls him the biggest voice in America. He's Paul Harvey, and each week, millions of listeners, viewers, and readers would await his unraveling of the mysteries of events in the lives of people past and present. Heard on over 1,400 radio stations, he was seen on 110 television stations and read in over 300 newspapers. The rest of the story has for years been exploring the byways of history with revelations that are intriguing, amusing, and surprising. Well, today's story is the mother of Mother's Day. Yeah, you know what? That's an absolute fact. Did you know that Anna Mae Jarvis has a quote? She says, "Mother's Day has nothing to do with candy. Candy is junk. You give your mother a box of candy and then go home and eat most of it yourself." Well, Anna Mae Jarvis had another quote, too. "A maudlin, insincere printed card or a ready-made telegram means nothing except that you're too lazy to write to the woman who has done more for you than anyone else in the world. You ought to go home and see your mother on Mother's Day. You ought to take her out and paint her the town. Paint the town red with her," is what I meant to say. And Anna Mae Jarvis is still quoting. She's quoting right now. "You ought to give her something useful, something permanent. A lot of mothers are sleeping on mattresses that are as hard as rocks. Maybe she needs a new eyeglasses or comfortable shoes or a pair of slippers or better lighting fixtures. Is she sleeping warm at night? Could she use an elder down, or maybe the stairs in her home need fixing? What about flowers, Anna Mae? Well, flowers are about half dead by the time that they're actually delivered, and Anna Mae goes on to say that she won't rest until Mother's Day becomes the personal family Memorial Day it was intended to be. If anyone had the right to speak out against the commercialization of Mother's Day, it was Anna Mae Jarvis. And that second Sunday of thoughtfulness each and every May was Anna's idea in the first place. Anna Mae Jarvis was the mother of Mother's Day. Anna Mae Jarvis was born May 1st, 1864. She was a minister's daughter, described as a quiet, studious girl in school who liked everyone and whom everyone liked. Anna was just 2 weeks, 42, working for a life insurance company in Philadelphia when her mother died on the second Sunday of May, 1906. Well, friends noticed a change in Anna in the months following that unhappy occasion. No longer the gentle, easygoing woman that they knew, Anna became obsessed with but one desire: to see her mother and motherhood honored annually throughout the world. After more than a year of careful planning, Anna arranged the first Mother's Day church service on May 10th, 1908, at St. Andrew's Methodist Church in Grafton, West Virginia, where Anna's mother had taught Sunday school. Anna worked hard to promote her idea. A year after that first memorial service in West Virginia, Philadelphia became the first city to proclaim an official Mother's Day. 3 years had passed. West Virginia made Mother's Day a statewide observance. And then 1 year later, in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson signed a proclamation from Congress, a document recorded as Public Resolution 25, to establish the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day forevermore. And it had all begun with Anna. But Anna, now 50 years old, was not content with her victory. She retired from her job at the insurance company to spend her remaining 34 years, her entire fortune of over $100,000, campaigning against the commercialization of the day she had founded in honor of motherhood. She interrupted florists' conventions to express her remorse at the profiteering. Wherever there was a forum for her cause, she spoke out. Then one day, when she was too old and too tired to speak out, she was placed penniless, deaf, and blind in a Westchester, Pennsylvania sanitarium. She died there in November of 1948. She was 84. And if the story of the woman who invented Mother's Day is made even more poignant, it is by the fact that she, Anna, would never benefit from that time of remembrance. For Anna Mae Jarvis, the mother of Mother's Day, who devoted her life and her fortune to its reverent observance, was never married and was never a mother. And that is the rest of the story. Well, folks, don't forget to join me on my show tomorrow. John Matthews and I are going to be talking about conservative politics on our semi-weekly simulcast. The Conservative Syndicate. And then David Garrett, he'll be here talking about law and Garrett on the law. And then I'm going to continue our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Please tell all your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. They'll really will be glad that you did, and you'll be glad that you did too. It'll make you happy. And you know what? I'll really be glad that you did. It'll make me real happy too.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.